right, here we go again. So there was a Minnesota case. I don't think the dude even had a gun. And so, the chief seems to be a deep stater, and he's just talking shit. And he probably has some witchcraft ability that when he says something, like everybody believes it. He's probably a bullshitter at a minimum. I remember Minneapolis. They're not pretty easy case actually. But I told him after that, I said, try not to go into the house while somebody's in there. You have a search warrant, make it so you find the person somewhere else. Some people don't come out, like drug dealers. Sometimes they won't come out. They'll always leave somebody in the house, because they're afraid that they're going to get busted and stuff. But you can even do a fire alarm. Now that may make them hint out and they throw the drugs away or something. So again, do it the best way you can. I mean, they got to go shopping for food. Generally, although sometimes they just order out to those type of people. They got money, they just order food in all the time. But the idea is to if you got a search warrant and you're going to send the SWAT team in, you probably want to try to get the person not in a vehicle. You don't want to get into one of those. So you got to get that perfect window. But again, surveillance. The person comes outside or they come outside, whatever it is, and you get in. In that particular case, it probably wouldn't have been difficult. They could put a camera in the hallway and nobody would have. Cable man come in, do work, whatever it is. So they would know they're coming and going. And then as soon as he came out, or to go somewhere, front office, if you can trust them, they call the resident at front office to look at something about their billing history or whatever it is. You don't want to hink them out. You don't want them to destroy evidence. You have to be careful. But like even just keeping it surveilled. I think it was a homicide warrant, so it was pretty. Actually, I think it had already lapsed a couple weeks or something, so it wasn't like one of those deals. Sometimes the homicide warrants, the ink's not even wet, and you go in the next morning, But I don't think it was one of those. It's been a while. I figured it out. I don't even think the person was in there, so it was kind of like, hitting all the houses or something, affiliated with somebody. But again, if you were to take, number one, nobody else is working under this environment, day in and day out, and they know that. It's a psychological warfare activity. It's a spy activity. It's espionage of government and government operation. If you were to take the total number of ICE operations, even probably in Minnesota, if all ICE operations were broken down per capita and compare them to every police department, they're still ahead of the curve, I'm sure. I can't even imagine the number of individual operations. Can you get that number? It's like the number of quote-unquote police calls. So, again, police departments have police calls, and sometimes they serve warrants. So, again, it'd be a combination. But, because each individual house that they go to is compared to each individual house that a law enforcement entity such as a police department goes to. Not the whole day. So in a day, one team is probably hitting, 30 locations maybe. Maybe that's a lot, but like 10 to 20 locations. So it's astronomical. It's been going on for quite a while. So you're going to have that happen. The answer isn't not to enforce the law, because then your crimes go up. Again, that's what Trump's trying to show everybody. The crimes went down because they enforced the law. So the answer, if we just wouldn't round up immigrants, this wouldn't be happening, is bullshit. Because ICE is absorbing the violence that like in Riley, whoever the other name they use, they absorbed. So instead of them having the violence visited on them, ICE is having that's the same people, man. And again, if you would look at criminal histories, what's his name didn't have a criminal history. It should have had a criminal history. Do you understand how that works? Freddie should have had a criminal history. If you walk up to anybody's vehicle and kick the tail light out, you have a criminal history. I mean, you see his criminal history. Who knows what else he's done? The gentle nurse who straps a gun to his side. I think they did it on Truth. The White House didn't do it on X. I don't think. I didn't see it on X at least. But they had Warren, and I gotta help Warren when she's right, But in this particular case, she's wrong. But she's explaining, the gentle. I mean, it's a really nice eulogy. I mean, it's professional. I mean, I've never seen such, was she an actress somewhere? Was she a thespian? I know she's not a lesbian, she's got a husband. Was she a thespian? I've never seen such a great And what they did is they had her speaking, and I think they superimposed her on Freddie that day with the tail light. Now, as far as Freddie being a mass shooter, that may have been next. We're not here to play games. He was radicalizing. And of all those people, let's compare him to the other protesters. One of these protesters is not like the other. I don't care if it's legal, even if it was legal. Let's say it was legal. I know it's not legal to carry the way he was carrying. It's not just not having his ID. He also was committing a felony, which is illegal to carry a firearm. Whether you agree that the felony exists in this world or not, I don't really care. Same way it was 10 years ago when somebody said some shit that was dealing dope because everybody should use drugs because it's healthy. I mean, same mindset. So one of these protesters is not like the other. Carrying a gun. Nobody else did it, except for maybe one or two somewhere we haven't seen yet. The reality is the officers missed, and they're all get suited up. They missed, which is, you got to, pay a little closer attention. Again, they're tired. This is what happens. When you go to somebody's place where they're sleeping and go, when you do that, they're going to make mistakes. And the first mistake that you can see there is what? That they didn't arrest Freddie and take him in. They were tired. And also they had their masks on, and they didn't see the gun. That's why Freddie's dead, is because you're all doing what you're doing to them. It's called reckless endangerment. The negligent homicide. Oh, Freddie killed himself. Again, I think somebody said early on he had a death wish. He killed himself, essentially. He put himself in a predicament. For what? For criminals? But, you're all trying to shift away from the fact that a criminal was being looked for that day. And again, law enforcement statistics says we don't catch everybody, correct? How many crimes have been committed? How many haven't been solved? Now, the police chief of Minneapolis may have committed those crimes, but we'll leave it at that. We won't get into that side of it. So it tells us if we arrest this many immigrants, but this many more immigrants. So what's happening is statistics are skewed. They're not breaking it down by unlawful immigrants. They're just saying immigrants total, which means like it used to be the H-1B, all those people with work visas from India that work for Silicon Valley and all those companies, they're included. We know they're not generally going to commit a crime of violence. They're not going to go out drunk driving. They're not good, but that's not who we're generally looking for. We pull up a couple of them here and there. So when they're doing your statistics, it's skewed. But also, routinely over the years, prosecuting an immigrant doesn't make sense when we know other things are afoot. I'm a little late today, but I had a feeling it was going to happen. I actually left. I tried to leave at the right time, but I'm sure I'm fine. It's lucky. But I had to get here. I had to get to the Butler VA. Been trying to get there for a while. They cursed me. So I was able to get to Costco before I could get the Butler VA for hearing aid issues, which means this. There's more trouble up here as far as controlling. I met the people at Costco and they seem really nice. So again, it may not be an entity issue, it may be an individual issue. Some people up here might be deep state. So it's harder to get an appointment and get to the appointment. It should actually have been harder to go to Costco and Cranberry than go to the VA. Because I already had an appointment, but I had to cancel for whatever reason. So again, metaphysics. So the statistics will tell us there's a lot more crime than those people. Now, ICE is allowed to deport for derogatory information. They don't have to, because you'll see they'll speak about they were picked up for this, they were picked up for that. Well, if what's that guy's name? Larry and Philly Krasner. If Krasner brothers, we sell clothes for. How does it go? Get the commercials. I got to pull up the Krasner brothers there. Crash Brothers commercials. But so if Krasner doesn't prosecute, we're not gonna play that game. And immigration, they don't have to. Well, because they're allowed to the evidence and decide that it happened. Now they're allowed to appeal it, right? So again, the system's there. I think the federal judges are playing screwy games. I think some of the problems with some of those hearings is there's no judges available. Yeah, we'll wait. If I don't make it, it'll be that. I'm not going to worry about it. It's funny being in Pennsylvania, especially in an area where there's a lot of German, people from Germany. And so again, I'm seeing people who have like facial features and things I haven't seen in years at the level that I'm seeing it. So okay, here's Pennsylvania, Dutch people, even though they're not, Mennonites. That's right, Dutch. I should have married a Pennsylvania Dutchman. I should have become Amish. I should have become Amish. I'm not even married. Right, real quick. Oh, widows. Amish widows. Dangerous life sometimes. Especially now that they use drugs. Thomas, you need drugs. Yeah, there's always been bad boys in the Amish world. Used to drink, now they use drugs. Bad girls, I guess. I think I'm going the wrong way, actually. I'll probably be late. I should have opened my other phone while I'm driving. Actually, no, I'm going right. North 8 should be that. So there's a certain amount of crime that's not being charged just based upon an inner city guy like Larry Krasner going, well, it's an immigrant. I don't want the statistics to go the other way, so we won't prosecute. And there's all these other things. So what I would say is this, is that, it's going to take longer, and that's okay. The first year is pretty quick. You got more officers. You have to do more surveillance. You got to write information down and connect it to the individual. Well, they know the communities that they're laundering money and they're dealing dope, and there's mules, there's lookouts. But generally, if you look at the prosecutions, they're not going after the mules and the lookouts as much as they are the core entity. So a lot of these immigrants, that's who they are. Not all. Yeah, you do hard work and hard smoke. They're not doing the cases, is what they're doing. It's because it's trying to deport them and saves effort, time, and that's notorious that immigrants were working while they were receiving a lot of stuff. Like if an immigrant, let's say an immigrant gets snapped, they go to work, they don't report that they're working, and then they still get the snap and whatever other payment. So I'm sure there's that out there, but they don't want to spend time doing that if they can just deport the person. Investigating that, Actually, I may have went the wrong way. Doesn't matter. I'll get there eventually. Yeah, I went the wrong way. Should have made a left back there. That's a bad make get on 422 here. It'll be a few minutes. That person, there's no doubt that the government, maybe because it's government and the government people are cursing my appointment. Well, just because I'm back in ICE doesn't mean that nobody, like there's people in ICE that would take money to do me. I know that. I mean, it's nature of evil government that exists throughout the world. In fact, they probably did Bavino. And you've seen some resign. That's who they are. Right, they're just saying, okay, well, what they're doing is they're looking at the petition and saying this petition's bullshit. Well, because what they're allowing is economic amnesty, which doesn't exist. Like, if everybody else in your country is having the same issue you're having, we generally don't give them amnesty. Now, there's nothing wrong with economic amnesty as long as we can do it. We can't do it. Our country is overextended. Right? In fact, if Walls and his people didn't steal all that money, maybe we wouldn't be so far overextended. Talk about $1 billion in fraud. Meanwhile, our veterans are sitting on the curb. Even the regular disabled people. I think you raised it up a little bit. They were getting like $750 a month. Like, who can live on $750? Now, there were other programs. You get SNAP. Some even get housing. So, well, the idea is if you give somebody that's disabled a lot of money and they're not like with it, they could become a drug addict. They could use it for this, for that. Somebody could take their money. So what they try to do is they try to make it like which I said they should have did for that payments to the parents. Like under the Biden administration, they're giving parents a certain amount of money per kid. And I said it should be a voucher to purchase things that kids would use, like a new bed, maybe some food. So you don't give them the cash, they'll go and have a drug party on the money. The kid won't get nothing. Right? Well, it's just like, the immigrant with his kid. Now, hopefully his kid survives, but the immigrant with this 5-year-old, he's puking, and everybody's kid's puking. It's flu season, so I think he has the flu. Just make sure he gets his treatment. But you see, this is because of ICE. No, it's not. He went to school, he got that problem. Right. And hopefully that's what it sounds like. But that's what's going on in the courtroom. And my library books are late. I know I spoke to a tow a week before they picked me up, but it's their fault. Right. See, that's how they're doing it. That's part of what they're doing. Again, if you look at statistics, ICE probably has it, and hopefully they're managing their detention places, right? But it is an awesome responsibility and job, a very difficult job. But I surmise that they're not outside the norm. Again, if you look at Minneapolis detention center that the law enforcement officers are involved with there, I'm sure you'll see some mess in their detention centers. It's, Philadelphia. What a mess. I think of Philadelphia and their detention facilities. I think of Attica. Right. So again, they're just projecting their shit on ice. I know a guy wasn't armed. I don't think. Yeah, he wasn't armed. I don't remember. Maybe his chief wasn't the chief, but there's a SWAT team going in, and for some reason they shot the dude. I think he furtive movement or something. So this idea that our officers are superior. I don't want to run their officers in the ground, but somebody has to. All right, so I don't know where so I go in here. I don't know where I go. I think it's right at the front. That's my parking spot. Yes. Is that the front? Where's the front? Is that it? See it? Oh, it's just a front. Is that the hospital? Is there a different section? I don't know. Is that the that's community living center? I guess I got the front there. See that? Now if I don't make it today, I'm getting at least I got here. Next time I'll get off top. This is like almost the coldest spot in the country. Definitely the coldest spot for this. Like now I'm driving away from the hospital. Oh, that's nice. I don't think there's any parking. I think that's what I got. That's nice. Yeah, that's right. I was making this weird. Let's say employee parking. They do have employee parking. Not like on a racetrack here. I'm sitting in a slot car. I don't think there's any way to turn off. Yeah, my mind took a while. Wait, there's no parking. That's what it is. That's why I haven't figured it out. That's pretty icy. Anyway, I knew it was going to be weird. Yeah, I'm sure nobody else showed up for the appointment either. Why? Because there's no parking. How do you get in here? Over there? Something just over there. So I should go over here. I just have to walk from here. There's like the Sean's place. Tell me to park over here. So I said, I'll take a little walk over there. Maybe it's just building. There's transitional care. But it's the same park over by the transitional care. never got to a road march, but apropos, I guess. You know what I mean? This, look at this. Not normal. I don't know. My kids were. It said it was charging and not charging. Yes, definitely sabotaged here. I gotta get to the phone. All right, stay peaceful, praise God, and I'll